Welcome to the first episode of Learn to Redstone. In today's episode, we're going to talk about the redstone components in not so close details, because of some of those I will talk in very deep detail in a specific episode. So let's start. So first off, we do have the redstone dust. It can be switched between two modes. That's a new feature of only 1.16 and everything above. This is redstone mode, or to send signals into all of the four surrounding blocks on this layer here. And the other one does only submit power to the block below and not to the others on the side. As you can see here, as to switch this one on, the lamp switches on. And when we switch on that one, lamp doesn't switch on. But this thing submits power to the block below, so it means we can power blocks next to the block the redstone dust is on top of. But this block here has to be a solid block. When a redstone signal travels, it loses signal strength. The input can be maximum 15. So the next block is 14, 13, and so on. You can use slabs or glass to transport the signal upwards, but not downwards. Next off, we have the redstone repeater. Its delay can be changed by right-clicking on it. This is 1 tick, 2, 3, and 4 redstone ticks. Here you can see, if it's on 4 ticks, you switch it on, and then it takes a while, and then the next component can be switched on when it's on 4 ticks. And if we do like reduce this, then it's going to be quicker, obviously. A special feature of the repeater is it can be locked. Like if you submit power to a repeater and then you take another repeater facing like this into the other repeater, and then you switch that one on, you can see that small bedrock piece there gets displayed, and if you switch the power source off here, the signal will still stay off. But if you just remove this power source again, the repeater does what it should normally. And it also you can also lock it in off mode. Yeah. So next thing, the comparator. One of the most difficult redstone components to understand. It has two modes, one times compare and one times subtract. Here we have a use for the comparator. We can switch on this lever here, which will switch on the lamp here, and next to it we have another comparator facing into it, both on compare mode. Here it wouldn't switch off because we do have the same signal strength, either if we're powering it directly using a lever, or indirect using a redstone component, a redstone dust, or a redstone repeater. But if we do stretch out the signal here and switch it on, it won't switch on because this signal here is stronger than this signal here. This means it is used for comparing two signals with each other. On the other hand, we do have a comparator in subtract mode, which is powered with a signal strength of 15. Here, it powers it directly, and as you can see here, when I place down this redstone, it has a signal strength of 15. On here, we do have another feature of the comparator. It can detect how much stuff is inside of a container, like a chest, even cauldrons, etc. So if we just put in a stack of netherite blocks, we can see it submits a power of 1. If we do increase it, you can see the signal increases, and once a container is full, it submits the signals of 15. Back to the subtract mode. The comparator here subtracts the signal this comparator feeds into the sides, or we feed into it with a redstone signal. It reduces the signal which has been inputted with that one, like it's just doing subtraction basically. Next off, we do have a pretty simple, but also a very often used component in gates. Like, you cannot build basically any gates without using a redstone torch. This here is the simplest way to use a redstone torch. Redstone torches are used for NOT gates, means signal inverters. So signal inverters just do when the power gets switched on, the thing turns off, and the other way around, just it switches off the power and the other one switches on. Next off, we do have the piston. The piston can push blocks away like this, but not pull them back. That's the task of the sticky piston. As you can see, sticky pistons do have a special feature, only in Java edition, obviously, because better redstone logic is broken. Yeah, by the way, this entire thing is only for Java edition. Most of the things are different in Bedrock. So a piston can spit out its block if it's powered by a 0 tick, means a signal which is switched on only for 0 ticks, but it switches on like for a little blink, and this forces the piston to spit out its block, and also retract it again. They're really difficult to reproduce with levers, etc. The easiest way to use them is making a 0 tick or a monostable circuit and the observer, but more for that later on. Next off, we do have the redstone block. It is a movable power source, but it has a difficulty in Java edition. If you have a sticky piston underneath and then you extend it, it won't retract, because this redstone block but powers the sticky piston below. As you can see, if we break it, the piston instantly retracts. This is also used for insta wires. It takes a time till the piston extends, means 1 redstone tick, but it instantly retracts, and so the signal instantly switches off. So you can basically make redstone lines which instantly switch on, so it's switch off. So it's basically the fastest way to submit power over long distances. Next, we have the dropper. It's basically a thing that spits out items. Yeah, it's used for auto droppers, etc. You can also build a signal shortener using this thing. Just throw in an item. It has to be 1 item, and then it's just activated. This dropper is still powered, but the item is already returned, so it puts out a signal of 1 redstone tick. So next off, we do have something which can place stuff like TNT. Wonderful. This thing is a dispenser, and the other thing is the god of booms, also known as TNT. Wonderful. The no block is a really cool block for me. It can play a sound when you power it, and you can also change the tone by right-clicking on it. For a no block, it's important that you know which blocks you have to put underneath it. I will link a Minecraft wiki article down below, so you can read which block you do have to place underneath the no block to make what sound. Next off, we do have the different power sources. This here is a lever. It's when it switches on, you can switch it on like it's basically a T flip-flop. You can click on it to change its mode from on to off, etc. and back. Here we do have a wooden button. It submits power for a relatively long time. And here we do have a stone button, which submits power for a way shorter time than wooden button do, as you can see. If I have pressed that one later on, and it switched on like at the same time. Here we do have a tripwire hook. It needs another tripwire hook on the other side. and then string in between, not cobweb, but string, and when you run through it, it activates. So here we do have a wooden pressure plate. This can detect players as well as items. And with this thing here, you can detect a redstone signal. You can only detect if there is something on it, not how much is on there. That's the use of the weighted pressure plates. The light-weighted pressure plate measures how many different items there are on the pressure plate, how many different stacks of items are on the pressure plate. And the heavy weighted pressure plate measures if there is something on it, and it gives out a signal strength of 1. Next off, we do have different options to lock something in. We do have the fence gate. This can be opened by hand, and it opens in that direction you're facing. You can open it like that. It will just open in one way. But if you're facing like that, it will open the other way. You can also use redstone to open and close it. The same goes for wooden wooden trapdoors and wooden doors later on. You can open them using your fisk by right-clicking on it. You can also open it and close it with redstone. Next off, we do have the iron trapdoor. This cannot be opened with your hand, only with redstone. Obviously with TNT, or you can remove it. That's another story. Next, we do have the wooden door. This thing can be opened with your hand and also destroyed by zombified piglins and zombies. You can also open it with redstone or pressure plates next to it. You can also detect it with an observer that this thing has been opened. So it can be an activation device. Next off, we do have the iron door. This thing can only be opened with redstone, like the iron trapdoor. You cannot open it with your hand. Next off, we do have the redstone lamp. This thing can be switched on using redstone. So we do have a toggleable light source, basically, which is very great for large redstone concepts. Like, it has been very difficult without redstone lamps to make toggleable light sources. Next off, we do have the daylight sensor. This thing switches on all of the redstone components below it if it's day, when it's in day mode, or if it's night, when it's in night mode. So we can make basically clocks with this, because it submits more power when it's later in the day. As well, we can also make some lanterns which automatically switch on if it's getting night, which is a very great thing. Next thing, we do have a trapped chest. When you open it, the component below switches on, as you can see here. When you close it, it switches back on. So we can detect if you open a chest or when you close a chest. It's very useful for traps, as well as for activation devices, because you can lock chests using commands with the /data command. If you want to, leave a comment down below. If you want to see something about commands, I can do 1 or 2 videos about this in this series, but like in episode 20 or so. The next component is the observer. This thing detects like basically everything which happens in front of it. You cannot do anything without him noticing when it's in front of him. You can also put water there, and when the water flows away, it detects and it's starting to go mad like a madman. It submits a power of 15 and only a signal of 1 tick. Further, we do have the lectern. Yeah, I might know some of you do not think that lecterns are redstone components, but definitely they are. You can use a comparator to read out the signal of which page you have opened in the book, which is on the lectern. So we can make easy selection with this, like just do a selection gate afterwards. And last but not least, we do have the target block. This thing can redirect redstone. That's a great thing. This hasn't been existing in the game before. As you can see, it connects to the target block, and so we can power things from the sides. That's very exciting news. In theory, there would also be the texture rail, but that's not considered a redstone component, it's a transportation component. And so this is it for the first episode of Learn to Redstone. I hope you've enjoyed it. If you did so, please leave a like, and if you really enjoyed it, then make sure to subscribe to get notified about my newest videos and further episodes of Learn to Redstone. Until next time, goodbye!